Hello and welcome to Making Waves by Todderbert. If you enjoy kit building, making electronic circuits, and do-it-yourself projects, then make sure to subscribe and tap the bell icon so you don't miss any of my most excellent videos. It's Christmas time again, and in front of us we have the Vogurtime VT-12 do-it-yourself Snowflake kit. I found this kit off Amazon for $12.99. I love the company. Really clear and concise instructions, really cool builds. They had FM transmitters, they have AM/FM radio you can build. Just some neat kits. You can check out my up here in the iCards for Vogurtime kits. Just amazing company, and a lot of them are still available. I do like they continue to support their old kits. So here's some instructions we'll look at in a second. Comes in a brown box like this with a label on the bottom, and they do keep it sealed so you don't lose the parts. Let's go ahead and open it up, see what we get. Just gonna pull everything out, and then we'll go over the items individually. You can pretty much see what's there as we pull it out. All right, so the box is empty. Let's go to our first item. First item is a USB to DC input. This is used to power the kit when you're done instead of using batteries. Nice they include that. I like that. You also have the option of 2 AAA battery to keep it portable. You know, I like portable devices. Put this next to my portable radio outside while I'm in the Christmas spirit. Gotta love it. All right, got that bay. Next we have some LEDs. So you're gonna get 24 of them, 6 amber and 18 blues. They're 3mm and they're very simple. As you can tell, you get the positive lead is a longer one, negative lead is shorter. And when you put them in, you got 48 solder points, so good practice. This is gonna be pretty straightforward and easy to do. If you've done any kits, especially the Learn to Solder kit, I'll put a link up here. Check out that video. If you have never soldered before, that's a great kit to get started with. And then later on, you can progress to this one. This kit, I would say, is like a level 3 kit because there are a couple components that are very small and you have to have a little bit of experience. But it's not too difficult from what I've looked at, but it is interesting. So there's the LEDs. Getting on to the interesting items. There's a bag of components here, and as you can see, there are surface mount devices, which are really tiny components. Here we have a tiny resistor and 2 small surface mount capacitors. Let's go ahead and take those out, go over these little guys, and kind of show you what's involved here. And I'm going to give you little tricks I'm going to do and what they recommend in the instructions. So first we get a little micro switch. It looks like it's just surface mounted there. 2 little tabs hold it on there. So yeah, there you go. Not much holding that together. Next we have it looks like a voltage regulator. Okay, that doesn't look too bad to solder in. A little bigger tabs on it. Here we have the DC input jack. There you are. And then we have the little surface mount components. First we have the surface mount capacitors. If you look, there's little orange bars on the top. I can get that into focus. And those bars will be represented on the board as larger white lines. You just line up those bars to the white lines, and that way you get the polarity correct. So yeah, pretty simple. And then over here, you only need one of these little resistors, but they give you 2 in case you lose one, you sneeze. I'm not kidding. These are small. This will be the first time I've soldered one of these on a board. I feel confident I can do it because I have the right tools and I have a little expertise doing surface mount as far as bigger stuff, but I think I can handle this. And I'll show you what I'm going to do to hopefully make that work. But yeah, there it is. They give you 2. So there's our little resistors. Let's look at the board. So the base part is where the surface mount components go. As you can see, you got DC input, your 3 volts, your switch. This is where the Snowflake kit fits into, and I'll show that to you in a second. There's where the resistor goes. Now, if you notice, those pads are pretty big. We use a pen tip to give you an idea. So those pads aren't too bad when you're soldering to them. They recommend using a 40 to 60 watt iron set around 600 degrees. I'm going to use a pencil tip iron, or a really tiny, I'll show you in a second, iron tip. And I'm going to set mine around 700 degrees. And just really quick, you only need about ½ second to 1 second to tack those in. You spend too much time, you're going to hurt those. Up here, voltage regulator. Here's one of the surface mount capacitors. As you can see, nice big pads. I don't see an issue with soldering these in. No polarity here. The white bar is where you're going to line up that orange bar on that surface mount capacitor. So that's your positive, and that's your positive. Okay, pretty easy there. And our spot for our DC input. Nothing on the bottom except their name. Vogurtime, fun project, fun time. Like I said, I like their stuff. It's awesome. I love this purple color too, by the way. But there you go, nice shiny pads. You don't have to pre-tin anything. It's all ready to go. All right, next we have the Snowflake. Awesome. It's got a little tiny microcontroller there, and I'll show you what type it is. That's already mounted, which is great because I don't think I could do pins that small. Let's show you a pin tip. It shows you how small those points are. Yeah, I'd have a hard time with not bridging those. So I'm glad those were on and done at the factory, because they pretty much just put it on there and they run it through an oven and done. But here's the spots for all your LEDs. As you can note, there's square and round holes. I'm assuming the square is positive, but we'll look in the instructions to be sure. But there you go, little snowflake. And there's the markings K, G. That lines up with the board. So when we assemble it, we line up K and G together, put it in here, and solder one joint, get it centered, and then repeat on all the rest. So yeah, 4 connections to make to attach it to the base. So there's that. And then, of course, we have the instructions. We'll look at those real quick. Vogurtime, fun project, fun time, Snowflake. Now, everything is here that you need. They do have a downloadable PDF file, which I'll show you. There's a little link to it in here. Principal overview. You can pause and read this if you like. There's the microcontroller, an AT32F4. I don't know what that is exactly. A small dude, but it does quite a bit. 6 animation effects and 3 operating statuses: loop play, fixed play, and sleep mode. Hey, that's pretty neat. A 3.3 linear regulator. Nice. So you can put different voltages. No more than 12 volts to 3.3. Okay. Shows you how to operate it. There's your schematic. If you're into wanting to know what that controller does, there's the little microcontroller. Oh, it's pretty neat. It does quite a bit. Love that. Here we go. And then a little bit of the LEDs, how they're situated. On the back is the important part. We'll have a bill of list of materials. There you go, how many you should have in the kit. Pretty much shows you everything there. I think I went over all of that. Please make sure there's no components missing. Of course, you can email them and they'll probably send you out replacements if you are missing some. Great company. They do respond to your email right away. There you go. You can solder your 24 in. Okay, yeah, short pin is the round hole and the long pin is the square hole. So long pin is positive and goes to the square hole marked on the board. So there you go. That's your polarity for the LED. So we got 24 of those. Boom. Then the base. They give you a little bit of information here. There's the 103 resistor. They recommend doing a little solder on the board and then using tweezers. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to use. Okay. Same way with doing the other components. They show the built boards here. And I'm going to go over pictures of my build process in a moment. There you are. And then at the bottom, let the snowflake light up. All right. And there's the PDF version. If you need it, you can contact their email or you can contact mine in my About section on my YouTube channel. And I'll have the PDF file. I can always email it to you guys. So there's it is. All right. So let's get to the tools I'm going to use. So let's go ahead and just kind of, I'm going to get a little paper board here. Just kind of put everything on it so you can see what we've gone over. And then I'm going to show you some of the tools I'm going to use to put this kit together. So all these little components here to keep us busy. Oh yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun with this one. Lots of fun. Here's our cable, batteries. All right, so first I'm going to use this solder. This is the 0.032 diameter, real fine solder. You don't want to use anything real thick. This is 6040, so it is lead-based solder. They recommend lead-free, but lead-free is difficult to use, so I'd recommend this one here. Next, we're going to use some diagonal pliers. We need to hold on to something that's larger. We also have some side cutters, so after I'm getting the LEDs put into place, I'm going to trim them with these. I think I need new ones. These are getting a little rough. But yeah, I use these to flush cut. So you can flush cut real nicely your joints, your extra material, excess component there. And then for the little parts, I'm going to use tweezers. Okay, here's a pair of I think these are used to remove slivers. They're really tiny points. If I can get that into focus, super small. You can see that. And I'm going to use that to hold the little resistor into place on the board. And I'm going to tack it with this guy. So I got a really small tip here. Yeah, I get this into focus. A really tiny, I want to say this is 0.7 of a millimeter. So it's really tiny bladed tip. And I'm going to put a little solder. There's actually a little bit of solder tin on there already. But a little bit of solder. And I'm going to put it right next to where that pad and the resistor meet. And boom, done. So I'm going to be holding the resistor, and I'm going to tack it in, and then I'm going to make sure it's center by using the tweezers. And to see all that, I'm going to be using these headset here. I love this headset. This is made by, so you get some focus. I can't remember who makes this. Let me read this. This is a Donegan. Yeah, I used to use this as for jewelry work. You can use this for almost any close-up work. It's nice stereo vision. I don't know if you guys ever use anything like this. I think I'm set up to 5 power at the moment. You can change these lenses out for different powers, and it's really nice. You don't fatigue on the eyes. You can build kits all day long with these. I like them. Sits on the head, swivels. Oh, there's the company. There you go. Optivisor, made in the USA. Rockin. You don't see that too often, do you? Okay, but that's what I'm going to use. So there it is. There's the kit. I'm going to go fade to black, and I'm going to go build this kit. I'm going to come back with some pictures of the build process. Again, pretty straightforward, and then we'll show it in action. All right, guys, I'll be back with those pictures. Here are pictures of the build process. I populated the Snowflake PCB with 24 3mm LEDs, working from the inside to the outside. Note, one of these LEDs will have an opposite polarity than the rest. In the second picture, I populated the rectangular PCB with the surface mount components, installing the smallest and working my way up to the largest. I used a very fine tip for this process. In this last picture, I switched to a larger iron tip to install the power jack and to finish soldering the regulator in place. This took me about an hour from start to finish. So let's look at the finished product on the table. Ta-da! Kind of have it propped up at the moment. Cool project. Yeah, about an hour to do, and let's look at it. So here we are. So there's the Snowflake with its 24 LEDs. A little bit over. You can kind of see some of my work there. I just leave the flux. It's the flux that was in the solder. I didn't use any extra flux, so I'm not really worried about being too messy. It's not sticky or anything, so that's good. I trimmed them as best I could too, the legs off the LEDs, as you can see. And I tried to make sure those LEDs were all nice and flat. So the way to do that is when you put your LED in, solder one edge or one leg in, and if it's uneven, just put your iron on that leg and push it flat with your other finger to make sure it's nice and centered on the board. That's how you get a nice look. Everything nice and square like that. Yeah, so there you go. That wasn't too hard. It's the first thing I did. Second thing I did was populate the bottom board. Now, the fun part came with that little tiny resistor right there. Let me get my tweezers. So here we are, this little guy. The 103 resistor. That's going to be your hardest one to put in. Get yourself some sliver tweezers. These remove slivers. Really fine point. This actually might be a little damaged, but it still worked. And what I did is I put a little solder on my iron. So what I did, let me grab that. I put a little bit of solder on the edge of my tip here, and I put the resistor in place, and I just tacked it. So I was holding the resistor in my left hand. I came in with the right here with a little bit of solder and that resistor on that one pad, and I tacked it. Okay. Then the other side, I did normal, just heated up the pad a little bit, touched the resistor, and then added some solder. And then I reflowed this other side here with a little bit more solder to finish its tacking process to a normal joint. That's how I did that one. And similar with the capacitors. You got two of those capacitors. If you notice the orange colored bar on top of the capacitor, let me get something to point this out with, corresponds to the wider white bar on the PCB. So that's your positive polarity going to the positive part on the board. So make sure you know polarity there. And it's reversed on C1. You see positives towards the back of the PCB. So yeah, and then you got the switch. The switch is surface mount as well. That was a little easier since the switch is bigger and easier to hold on to. You can almost use your hands. You don't really need the tweezers to hold the switch in. But it's got two little solder points. Again, tack one side, do a nice finish on one side, then redo the other side. That's what I do when I was doing these components. So just take your time. It's not super hard. Now for this back one here, this voltage regulator, man, this is hard to get in focus. It's one that wants to focus on multiple components. I can just turn it just right. There it is. Okay. So to get this soldered in, what I did is I put solder on each of these three pads, and I just pushed my iron in and kind of pushed those legs down, and it made a nice connection. And then of course I switched tips so I could do the larger connection point back here. And of course for the legs on the power jack. There's 5 of those. So that's how that goes. And if you look at the bottom, it's nice and flat. So this thing stands up beautifully. It's well balanced, doesn't want to tip. Another nice thing is you got to make sure you're square when you attach this to the base. If you look here, there's 4 points, K, G, and I think it's on the back here, it's also marked Y and then K. So what you want to do is tack in 1, make sure it's centered, make sure it's not turned one left or right or falling back or falling forward, and then adjust it as you need to, and then go ahead and finish filling in the rest. What I found was adding a solder to each pad, and then a little bit on the tip, and then filling it in, and then kind of using gravity. I'd hold it like this, like at a 45-degree angle, and come in with the iron like this to heat it up on 45 degrees, so the gravity kind of fill it in. That's how I did it. Worked out well. So there it is. A little button works. So we're going to go ahead and hook up the power, put a little Christmas music on, and demo this light, show you what it looks like. Maybe I can turn the lights off, see how it looks. Now I have my USB cable. I didn't hook up the battery box. So here's the battery box. I have that separate for now because this works fine with this little USB power. And then of course you have extras. They give you extra LEDs. So you have 3 extra blues and 1 extra orange. Hopefully your kit does too. And you have an extra 103 resistor in case you lose your... It's pretty small. I'm glad they did that. Good job, Vogurtime. They're a great company. Now when you push this in, I recommend holding the jack in place because there's not much reinforcement for it. And I can see you pushing the jack off and having to reattach it. So what you do is just hold down the jack and then insert the plug. There we go. It's going to light up now. All right. It's really bright in person, and it's, yeah, definitely washing out my image here. I'm going to go ahead and lift this up so we can get this from above angle as best we can. All right. So I'm going to try to see how this looks. See on the red, it's definitely washing out. So I'm going to see what it looks like with a backing here. Let's see what it looks like. Put down some paper. Yeah, it's just super bright. So it's got a bunch of modes. It's got 6 modes, which is neat. 6 effects. 6 effects, 3 modes. So yeah, right now it's going through the different effects. The button lets you click it once, and what it does is it goes to the next mode, then stops the looping mode, and it's in fixed mode. So it'll stay on this setting forever. To continue, press this again. Now it goes back to loop mode to the next mode. So that's how that works. So it's going to go ahead and go through these modes. So I'm going to go ahead and turn some Christmas music on. We're going to demo this, and then we'll do final thoughts. So let me fire up my transmitter. We'll get some music going. I got some royalty-free Christmas music. Believe it or not, you got to make sure it's royalty-free. Here we go. There we go. Cool. So let me go ahead and turn the lights back on. We're done. Cycling. All right, so there it is. Yeah, let me quick tell you some dimensions, and we'll do final thoughts. So as you can see the light, okay, so I just want to go over the button again. So I'm going to hold it like this so you can kind of see. It's kind of washing out my screen. It's fun. So the little button, short press will switch the effect, and the mode will change to fixed play. If you unplug it, plug it back in, it automatically starts looping as default. If you want to go back to looping mode, you double press the switch. So you double click that switch and it automatically should start looping again. There we go. Now it's changing modes on its own. So it'll cycle all 3 effects. Or excuse me, 6 effects. 6 effects, 3 modes. See, that's pretty cool. I like this pinwheel when it gets crazy. Crazy fast. And then hibernation, long press. Turns it off. So there you go. Short press, turns it on. And of course it starts in the default, which is 6 effects on loop play. And here it's going through all 6. Yeah, it's just a wonderful little toy. I like this. For $12.99, you can't beat it. So let's go ahead and unplug it. Go to hibernation mode. Do some final thoughts. But let me give you some dimensions. It is 2 7/8 of an inch in width, almost 3 inches in width at its longer points here. I kind of measured the snowflake. Its height is 3 inches, so if you're wondering how high it is, and its depth is 1 1/4 inches. So that's the depth of the board from front to back. So there it is, the VT-12. Is it worth $12.99? Yeah, it really is. It gives you a lot of practice, especially soldering in surface mount. That's my first time I did it. It's not super perfect, but at least they're not all crooked. They look fairly straight. That's important. If I can get up closer, closer, closer. There we go. Now I guess a power regulator. Cool. So yeah, not too bad. Pretty impressed. Pretty happy with how it turned out. I would recommend doing the Learn to Solder kit first before you jump into this one. This, I would say, this should be like your 4th or 5th kit. I would actually attempt building a radio first before building this. Believe it or not. Getting into surface mount stuff, yeah, you gotta be ready for it. So there's some inexpensive kits like the Texan 2P3. There's also a kit that Vogurtime sells, the FM transmitter kit. I was just wondering if I had it on my bench. I might. Let me just take a look around and just peek and see if I have it handy. Yeah, I don't see it there. Okay, I'm not sure where it ran off to, but I had it out. But the VT-10 transmitter kit, I reviewed it. I'll put it up in the iCard section there. Awesome little kit. Very easy to build. So if you're looking for a fun kit, different kit to build, you could use. Oh, it's right in front of me. Looking right at it. Here it is. The VT-10. This is great. Really affordable. It runs on 2 AA batteries. Hook up your input source. And it transmits on whatever frequency you pick here, and it shows you the frequency, and it works really well. So you have yourself an FM transmitter for the house. And it even stands on its own. So yeah, great kits from Vogurtime. I love them. So there's the VT-12. Yeah, definitely worth your money. Thanks for watching while I built this and put it together and demoed it. I had fun. Merry Christmas, everybody out there. Have fun building kits. Something to do during the cold weather. Like I said, it's just a fun little thing to do. My wife was impressed by it. She says, wow, that thing's bright. So there it is. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video of making the Snowflake kit, the VT-12. I enjoyed it. $12.99. Check out my links below if you want to support the channel. Pick yourself up one. Definitely find yourself an iron that has a smaller tip to it. A conical tip will work too. That means a rounded, pointed tip. That'll work perfect as well. And you'll have no issue putting this together. They made those pads big enough on that bottom board for no issue. And of course, yeah, support the channel. You guys are the best. 2, if you want to see more Vogurtime kits, subscribe to the bell icon, get notified of more. I'm always on the lookout. They make great kits. And 3, comment below what you think about the VT-12. Do you think it's fun? Do you think it's Christmassy? I know I built a tree not a while back. Yeah, I got that handy. Yeah, I got these things laying around. Gotta dig for them. I built this too. But this isn't Vogurtime. This is the EQ kit, I think. It might have been Vogurtime. I can't remember. But yeah, there you go. But yeah, Christmas tree kit. So there's all kinds of cool Christmassy things you can build. But the Snowflake one was the most fun for me. Plus it has a really cool animation sequence. That controller in there. Alrighty, guys. Perfect. Well, there it is. Well, you take care, and we'll see you in my next video.